Welcome to Talk Purpose and Truth, shifting you into higher consciousness. A show that elevates, uplifts, and encourages listeners to grow, heal, awaken, and evolve. Eden and Kim include bold topics, interviews with inspiring guests, experts, and celebrities, intuitive readings, channeled messages, mental health awareness, and hot topics to expand your awareness.
I've been kind of like a little hiatus-ish a little bit, and we have some things that we've been doing or that we have done that we wanted to share with you guys. So Kim, you went to Greece.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we had some cool summer stuff going on, and we had a bucket list of going to Greece. Hadn't been to that part of Europe yet, and I started researching all the Greece areas that people have bucket lists about, and a lot of them are beautiful and amazing, but they're very, very touristy in the summer, and I just don't love like huge crowds where you can't move. And so
Yeah.
I like, what's a cute, lighthearted place that ends up being something that fits with us. And so long story short, we went to Corfu, which is actually where they filmed My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. And so if you watch that movie, you can see Corfu in the background and where they're at. And it's a really gorgeous island, and it's very Italy influenced. And so that was interesting because it did remind me a lot of Italy. And I'm only going to say a couple things about it, but what I loved about it was just that the energy there was so positive to where you almost felt in this light, like relaxed flow all the time. And it's
Nice.
known to have very strong vortex energy there where people meditate on that area of Greece from all over the world. And we just found that the people, everyone pretty much was very friendly and everyone seemed very relaxed. And we talked to a lot of cab drivers and Uber drivers and people from there. And they were just talking about how, you know, they have their siesta time and they have their a lot of downtime. And they do this unique thing where, like, a lot of people might have heard of like how you have seasons in your life of action and rest and reflection and different things. And sometimes that symbolizes fall, spring, winter, all of that. And they actually have a thing in Corfu, Greece, where the weather doesn't get snowing or anything, but with the rain and just some of the crazy weather, they actually work very hard all spring and summer. And then fall and winter, they just close down almost everything, and almost everyone just kind of stays in and does their own thing. And it's
Oh,
5
did
months.
did you know that when you were before you went?
No. And so we learned a lot from talking to people.
So you
And
just, but what I'm saying though is like, thankfully you planned your trip for when they were still open.
yeah, well, we went summertime, and it's just like people, it just seems like people are more chill and relaxed about everything. And it
Mm-hmm.
didn't, we're getting upset easily. Like we really didn't see any negative, and we didn't see anyone that seemed to be struggling. They have big programs for helping homeless people or people that are struggling or people who need medical care, and they just have a lot of programs similar to Sweden in that way. And then one of the things we went to that was really fascinating spiritually was we went to this monk monastery that was built in 1212, the year 1212, but you could actually walk through it and see the whole monastery, and monks still choose to go live there and
Mm-hmm.
practice a total kind of life of solitude and reflection. And they barely go anywhere, and they just study and give back. And it was just interesting to be around that and just walk amongst them and see that type of life, because it's so different than
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
And then I was watching on Netflix, there's a documentary series about centenarians, and it's really good. It's short. And Greece was one of the places where people live past 100.
Mm.
And that I think is because of that, like that more laid back lifestyle. And they don't necessarily have to be so go, 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 go like America, you know. And um one of the other places on that documentary was Japan. And there was a woman on there. She was very cute, and she was 101. And they showed her dancing with a bottle on her head, playing like a little like violin thing. And I'm okay, first of all, she's doing that, and I couldn't do that, and she's 101 doing that. And they
Yeah.
showed they showed her playing like a ring toss and doing all this active stuff. And then they interviewed her and they said, "What's your secret for living to be 101?" And she says, "I never get mad. Don't get mad." And
Oh,
not, she says, "Why? What's the point? Just, let it settle in your mind. Don't get mad. Just brush it off. And it's just their journey. Don't let it affect you." And I was like,
yeah.
wow, that's interesting, because anger can cause, sometimes I think it can be redirected towards good, but if you have too much anger, it can cause low vibrations in your body, and it can kind of like make everything sick. It can make everything sorts.
And it is actually it that emotion maps to different organs in the body, especially the heart and the kidney.
Mm.
So that, if someone, I don't want to make any suggestions that people don't believe in, but that is a belief that, when if you have heart disease, it might be because you have a lot of anger,
Okay.
for
Yeah.
example. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Well, it's like grief. Like, have you ever heard that grief,
Hmm.
people get lung cancer because of grief?
Yeah.
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 So,
I've heard of breast cancer being because people take on other people's stuff more than um, they, I guess, they don't have a good balance of helping themselves, as opposed to, being more, I think what it is I'm like not even putting the words right together right, but this is what it is. They're caretakers. They like kind of breastfeed the world. That's like the mentality. They give,
hmm,
and they don't give back to themselves. So
yeah.
that's a whole other theory about breast cancer. Yeah.
No, you know what's interesting is I was just reading a thing about boundaries, and it talked about how if you don't have enough boundaries, like let's say somebody contacts you and has a big problem and they're in emotional distress, and you're kind of depleted yourself, and you're like, okay, I'm going to immediately jump in and help them. And then all of a
Hmm.
sudden, what's happening is you're so depleted, your body and system takes on their feelings, and it affects your whole nervous system and your well-being, and makes you depleted for days because you were already depleted yourself, and then you took on more of
Hmm.
somebody.
Yeah. That's how mind, body, spirit is connected.
Yeah. So
that's that's a whole other subject. Let's
yeah,
talk about something lighter now.
yeah. So okay, so then we got to go to Lionel Richie, which is Eden's favorite, and I had never seen him, which is crazy because I've always loved him. And she was able
Not
to,
as much as me.
I know.
Come on.
She was able to get us some really good seats.
Okay, let me tell.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
So, the day that the concert tickets went on sale, I immediately went and bought tickets, and there were three of us going, Ellen and Kim and I. And I bought the tickets, and then probably about 2 weeks later, my good friend Brett said he met someone who is the tour manager for for Lionel Richie's concert, and he said she was looking for a medium, and I wanted to know if you would be open to doing a free reading for her if she gets you free tickets for the for concert. And of course, I said yes. So we ended up with like the extra three that we already purchased, but we ended up selling them on the day of the concert. Um, but we ended up getting like what she said to me, I'm going to get you the best seats in the house. I think they were pretty much the best seats in the house,
Yeah.
and I'm going to say why. So we had like an added bonus, not just for me, and obviously anyone who's there likes Lionel Richie, but the show, this was my 10th time going to see him in concert, and it's always a big deal for me. We got to be on the floor. We had floor seats very, very close to the one side of the stage, and that was enough for me. It was enough for all of us.
He was
We
like
were,
pretty close to singing to you.
yeah. So it was a thrill. But then we noticed, we first had Earth, Wind, and Fire came on first, and that was fun. And then I don't know, I think it was you and I at the same time, or you saw it first, but we looked up and we saw, well, first we saw Magic Johnson with his wife there, right next to us. And then we saw Stevie Wonder. And then the ultimate for me, one of my other favorites. Yes, I'll say you too. Was LL Cool J. And we ended up having the best seat in the house because to the left was the concert, the great music, and then to the right was LL dancing to the great music. And
Magic.
yeah, yes, of course they were all dancing, but we couldn't keep our eyes off of LL dancing. So I was telling people it's like for me it was like Magic Mike, being able to yeah, he was just very sexy.
Yeah, he looks, I mean, he's already been, I've always thought that about him. And
Mhm.
when I used to do acting stuff, one time I saw him back in the days when he had a sitcom, and
Yeah.
he winked at me, and I was like, oh my God, because I've always liked him, and I had pictures of him on my wall when I was like 12. And so, but I had never seen him since. It's been years, and he literally looks like, how stars look better in person sometimes than on
Yeah.
TV. I think he looked better in person.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm laughing because it was a funny thing because Eden and Taylor, her daughter, was there, and they kept taking paparazzi photos of all these people, but subtly. And they're like, we have to get photo. We gotta get proof of this to remember.
Yeah.
And but then I found myself nonstop. I just couldn't stop going and turning back and looking. I'm like, okay, I gotta see Ella dancing again. Okay, back to Lionel.
That's what we were doing. We have plenty of video of LL dancing.
Yeah, that's nice. It was a really nice added bonus. So thank God we had those seats because
Right.
we would not have. We got really lucky. It was a
Yeah.
perfect decision.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
but
I want to say thank you. Shout out to Nikki. Thank you. Not my sister, my client. Thank you for the amazing seats.
yes, and I feel like Lionel did not disappoint. He
Mm-mm.
got a lot of energy. Lionel Richie's been around a long time. It was interesting because the Earth, Wind and Fire and Lionel were talking about how they've been touring together since 1968. And so I thought it was funny that he's very humble, and he kept making these jokes about his age. He's like, damn, I'm on more medication than meditation.
Oh, right.
And then saying how his daughters were telling him to get out of the house and get back into touring and stop sitting around and talking about stuff. Like, he's just funny.
Yeah.
And social media and kids nowadays and how everything can get caught. You can't sneak around like you could back in the day. You know, I funny that he added that stuff in.
Oh, yeah. He's always like ad libbing. He always talks between songs, and it just makes it a better show.
Right. Because you
Yeah.
feel
It's like
like,
personalized.
that like and trust him, and that he's like you hung out with a friend.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So, more serious conversation coming up now.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, just there's been, I think, a period the last few months, I think more than I know, like you and I have had struggles going on many years now. But just the last few months in particular, we wanted to kind of talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like it's been different for everyone. I've had, right now for some reason there's just like there's some shifts in the world going on and shifts in consciousness. And so it seems like a lot of people are going through a lot of different things where they're shedding old and having
Yeah.
and figuring out what they don't want and having awakenings. And I've been getting clients where they're like, "Oh, I just know there's something more out there. Like I'm just,
Yeah.
something's not hitting. I'm feeling this whisper that something's missing." And usually that's what happens when you're following your ego, and you're not meant to be doing that. You're meant to be following your heart and soul.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't believe that you have to struggle to become to a higher level, but sometimes it's just part of what your journey is and your path. It doesn't mean it's going to go on forever. And so I feel like for me, I was blessed that I felt pretty good in Greece. But
Mm-hmm.
then since I've had, many of you have heard that I had breast implant illness, and then I had a breast explant, and I just really felt like I would feel way better after. And it's been almost 6 months, and I haven't really overall felt better. I felt kind of equal or worse. And it's been frustrating, and it's been, tiring, and it just, it just teaches you that, you have to figure out ways to get through stuff, but in a positive way, instead of turning to something to just seek comfort and escape it. And
Because, well, yeah, and I think people tend to, and I think you and I are guilty of this, and it takes a lot of practice to get out of it, is that we're guilty of staying in the suffering of whatever we're going through, and catastrophizing it.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, making it worse than it is. And it doesn't mean the opposite is you have to be positive all the time. Because that's not human either. But it's just like acknowledge how you feel, allow yourself to feel it, and then just don't get stuck in it. What do you
right.
think? What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that you helped me the other day. I've been going through this weird symptoms off and on for over 6 years now, and I do feel like it's coming to the culmination of it, because I did get the breast explant and everything, and my body's finally balancing. But you helped me see that I was focusing on what was going wrong more and talking about it,
Yeah.
and not like reminding myself to breathe in white light and to trust and to ground and do all these things. And I was doing them, but not enough. And I know better, because I do that in most other areas of my life, but it was almost because I was in it. It was very hard for me to see it. And I've always had OCD with thoughts. And
Hmm.
I programmed myself in a good way to really cut down those thoughts to almost none. And so I know I could do it with this. And so, the other day you really helped me, because ever since I've been shifting and just remembering to breathe in white light and to tune into divine energy and to have patience and to face it and just all these things. And I think that mindset is so big,
Yeah.
you know, and sometimes it trips you out. Like the other day I was talking to my psychiatrist, and I was telling her, I think my body's been stuck in fight or flight. Like it gets this strange thing where the kind of feeling, like, have you ever been driving in a car and you feel like you almost hit a car and you get that feeling?
Yeah. Like the
Okay,
yeah,
it feels like that feeling is just stuck
panic.
inside of me, but over and over and over, sometimes for days,
Yeah.
nonstop. And so it feels almost like knives cutting through me. And so it's pretty bad and traumatic. And um, so it's hard to think positive when you're in that. But I just am like, okay, I trust in this journey and da da da. So I met with my psychiatrist, and she's like very nice and understanding, but she's like, in all my years, I've never heard of anyone having that happen. And so I was like, oh
You
wow,
don't want to hear that.
right. And I was like, what's special?
Yeah.
No,
Or is it that you're special, or is there something like terribly wrong with you? That's how
yeah,
where my mind would go.
crazy. I know. Well, and I know you're not supposed to compare, but sometimes it makes you feel better. And the women in the breast implant illness site have very similar stuff happen, and no doctors ever know what it is or understand it. And so then that made me feel like, okay, well, this is just part of it. I'm improving and improving. I trust that I am. And I'm just getting into that mindset. Um, and then just remembering other people have gone through things where there's only a small percent of people who understand what it is.
Hmm.
But sometimes we have these crazy things happen because we have a big calling, and we're meant to have extreme learning,
Yeah.
extreme compassion, wisdom, non-judgment, all those things. So I do always trust that, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It's so easy though to fall back into it because there's like the lack mentality. And also, um, I think that we all want more than anything is comfort.
Hmm.
And we'll do anything for that.
Yeah, or peace. For me, it's like I've had so much physical feelings of chaos, that I just like crave peace.
Hmm. And then
Yeah.
you've had like little moments of it, so you know what it feels like. Yeah. Yeah. And I know even before we started this recording, we were both feeling like way out of it. And I don't know, something's up with the energy. So many people are going through this right
Mm.
now too. I've been getting calls and texts and, from all kinds of people telling me that they're going through something and they're scared. They don't know what it is. Um, so I know we're not alone. It's like a big collective destructive dismantling that's going on to change, to raise the consciousness and the awareness um, everywhere. But I think some of us who are more sensitive, we feel it more. So on top of how you feel, just because physically what you have going on, you are one of those, and you feel everything like 100 times more.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Well, and sometimes you end up getting signs. Like one of the things that came through yesterday when I did a reading with someone, she said, "Don't have lizard brain," and I'm like, "What's that?" And she
Mhm.
said that, and you've gone through a lot of stuff, trauma, whatever, physical stuff that keeps happening, and it's almost like you're fine and then you get beat up again, and you're fine and you get beat up again, so you get programmed to like almost expect it, like a PTSD. And so she said, "Don't get lizard brain." Because that's the brain that keeps you going back to the old, instead of going, nope, I'm going to surpass that, move forward, and see what's light and positive. And so today, when I walked the dog, I was doing all the mantras and like getting into a meditative state while I'm walking. And all of a sudden, I see a big lizard. Usually, here I don't see big ones.
Mhm.
Okay, that's the reminder about the lizard brain.
You saw a bigger one because you're being a big lizard.
Yeah, I know.
I'm kidding. That made me think of something that I've been working on for myself, because of circumstances that I've been going through, is my value. Like just really knowing your value, your self-worth. And um, I have been for a couple of years finding pennies in the most like random places, and it's become a thing for me and my friends and my girls. And the last few times, probably the past couple weeks, where I have, because I'm working with a coach myself, and she's amazing. Shout out to Ariel. But um, that's one of the main things that I've been learning. And one side note to this, well, I'll say that after. But anyways, so I got a sign the last like two times that I found pennies. I also found dimes with the pennies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's maybe nothing to other people who are listening, but it means a lot to me. And today I was somewhere out with my daughter and I found another penny with the dime, and something clicked for me, and I said, you know why I'm finding dimes now? Because she said, Mom, that's just a dime. It's or that's only a, you don't need the dime, only the penny. But I said, no, it just hit me. I was like, I'm finding dimes now because I'm more valuable.
Ah,
And my price went up.
good.
Yeah, I'm more
Well,
expensive.
10's like a divine number.
10? Yeah, true.
Yeah, 10 plus 1, 11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With those signs, I think that, a lot of people say they see signs. And so I think what you need to notice is when they come and how different it is. Like, so the other day, after Eden and I had talked, I was just I like to be outside and do mantras to myself. And I was just like, I'm connected to God. I'm turning to God. God is with me. God has the answers, like things like that. And then I literally went, okay, give me a sign like related to this. And I'm not kidding, like less than 20 seconds later, the license in front of me said, turn to God. And
Mm.
then later that day, I saw another license plate that said, say an amen. And I just had so many signs like come up, like things that you don't normally like. I've lived here 17 years and I've never seen these fluorescent yellow butterflies. And all of a sudden they've been in my backyard like every second. Like And I looked it up, and it means, transformation and protection and all these things. And I'm like, okay, so sometimes it'd be different if it's something you see every day and you're like, okay, I see a crow. I see a crow again. But if you see something unique that you don't normally see, many times it's a sign.
Yeah.
Or sometimes if you hear something, if someone tells you something, like in the last 3 weeks, 3 different people have randomly told me I should go get EMDR, which I've had it before, and it's a form of therapy. It's really unique and it's helpful for getting rid of PTSD or trauma. But I've had 3 different people say it. I'm like, okay, that means that I'm supposed to do it, because if you
Yeah.
keep hearing something from all different random people, then there's a sign there.
Yeah, and that goes along with not just hearing it from someone else. It's also something like a thought. We think it's our own thoughts, but maybe it's like coming from somewhere else, or it's our higher selves speaking to us. Where like we get either a thought or a feeling about something, like, you know what, I need to quit my job. I need to go do what I really love. Just it could be anything, but it you need to listen
Mm,
to those things. Listen, and I know it's like, that's like life-changing, a life-changing decision, but it could be something minor also. But it's the same thing. These are coming in because it's our truth.
right,
Yeah.
right. And sometimes it's just that you keep getting these whispers where it won't leave you alone.
Hmm.
And that tends to happen when someone is living in ego, is that, you see, for example, like the stereotypical guys who buy the Corvette, and nothing wrong with that, but they're like doing everything for the material and for the status, and they're like, why am I still feeling not enough? Why am I still searching outside of myself, getting the new wife, or buying the new car? And instead, they're like, wait a minute, I have to shed, finally, hopefully, sometimes they go, finally, I have to just shed this ego and like tune into what's really going on inside. And, I know Kiko
Hmm.
Ellsworth, he's been on our show and talked about that. We've had Randy spelling talk about that. Um, and so it's a common thing. But even for us, like if we're needing to shed ego, sometimes we're going to have signs that show us, like, okay, there's a whisper there that something's not right, like, so I need to go inward and figure out what this thing is, that's missing in my life.
And how do people go inward? You
Yeah,
know,
that's a question.
I mean, I can share what has been working for me.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, I mean, it's so simple, but yet so hard. Um, Getting out of your head and more just into your heart space. I put my hand on my chest, and then I do some deep breathing and imagining like light going into the heart area. And when I do that, then suddenly I am feeling more calm and peaceful. And then I can start to hear things. And it's very different than the way that I um, think I should be doing things or the way I feel. It comes to like an example would be, um, okay, like I had an argument with someone and I didn't like what they said and I want to fight back. I want to defend myself. But, before I respond, I'll maybe do some of this work. So then I sit with and tune into the heart space, and then I get really clear on what is right for me to do, what feels like most aligned, and also most love. What is, you can ask yourself or ask your heart or your body to tell you what is the best, most loving way to respond to this. And I always get the answer. I mean, I shouldn't say always. I just started doing this and it works, but it really, really works for me to go. That's my going inward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's good, because I think that people don't know. They're like, they get scared maybe of finding something they don't want to deal with, and not realizing that letting yourself face that thing and deal with it or heal from it or get someone to help you heal from it is going to actually make you feel freer and happier and lighter in the end. But
Mhm.
people, or a lot of people, end up deciding, oh, no, I'm going to keep that repressed. And then there's going to always be that feeling of there's something off, there's something missing, I want to escape. And so I think that tuning in like that. Like it helps me to do a nature walk or to do sound healing or go to Reiki or just different things that help me go inward and relax and tune in and see what comes up.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, or writing.
It's
That.
very tricky. It's just, but the main goal is get out of your mind. Get out of your head. Your thoughts. Don't be in thought. Be in love or your heart or your soul. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really hard thing for people for anyone to really comprehend until you try it. It takes practice.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes.
when you started doing that the other day,
Uh-huh.
you started to feel better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like I've been doing it on different levels for years, but like I did it consciously in relation to like the symptoms I've been having and feeling off and different things.
Mm-hmm.
Helped me get outside of myself
Yeah.
differently, like a new perspective.
Yeah. And perspective can change everything for us.
Right. And I think also no matter what you're going through, if you can be in a place challenges, you can be in a place of I'm going to trust that this is a journey for my highest good, even if I don't understand what it is right now. And then also reminding, the other day I used this analogy, but thinking of your life like your life is this big long bookshelf and it's full of books. And so you could be like, okay, this book was my childhood. This book was this book was, some of the dark, challenging trauma times. And guess what? I can close that book, but I can pull wisdom and things I need. Once I heal what's going
Mm-hmm.
on, I can go, okay, I'm going to put that book on the shelf. Now I don't need to keep on revisiting it unless something comes up. And then I can take the wisdom needed from it and I can actually begin a whole new book. And I think that's great because people feel stuck in whatever they're going through and they make it their identity a lot of times.
Yeah. And I think what's required is to grieve
Mm-hmm.
because it's a loss. So, and people feel depressed or they feel sad or angry, whatever it may be, and they don't know that they are in grief. They're grieving. And
Mm-hmm.
and to allow that, once you allow that, I think you get out of that being stuck. There's so much all different forms of grief. It's not just losing a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's losing your identity. It's change when things change or things don't go the way we wanted them to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and sometimes you might think, "Oh, this isn't fair." But if we can have acceptance for whatever is, then we and still allow ourselves to get angry or be sad about it, grieve it, we will find that it's not so bad.
Right. Right. And I think it helps to look at other people who have gone through something similar because then it helps you not feel alone. You look at somebody like I was watching videos with Carrie Ann and Abba, and we'd love to have her on our show, by the way.
Yeah.
But
Hi, Carrie. Carrie.
yeah, we just we just had her on Dancing with the Stars the other night and she's looking great, but she has been through I think she has 6 autoimmune diseases and she went through appendix rupture or appendicitis and
Yeah.
couldn't work for 9 months and had COVID and all this crazy stuff. And she's just open and honest about what she's gone through. And I think and then she shows how she can finally push through and get better and get back everything. And so I think just looking at people like that and going, okay, they're going through it, they did it, I can do it too with whatever's going on. Or like Kelly Clarkson with her divorce, or Jillian Barbary, who was on Good Day LA for a long time. She has gone through all kinds of, crazy stuff. And she's an open book about what she's going through. And I think that's really inspiring.
Oh yeah. And so you too, you're sharing your stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think the more we share our stuff, the more that people go, oh, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
I never, sometimes it feels unreal because I never thought I'd be someone who had this many struggles with balance or health related stuff. but I just keep the faith that, it will get better and this is all for a purpose. And, I have my good days and I continue to have good days. I'm using the right affirmations. One of my clients said, I'm, I'm feeling great and I'm feeling greater every day. I'm feeling great now, but I'm feeling greater every day. Something like that, like to keep your mindset right. Even if you're not necessarily feeling great, it just plants that seed in your mind.
Yeah, and that reminds me of something I saw recently where I can't remember who he is, doctor or something. I should have gotten his name. Anyhow, it was pretty profound what he shared about manifestation.
Mhm.
Um, and help me explain this because I don't know if I'm going to say it well enough. But what I got from it was if people were if manifestation worked the way people thought it did, everybody would be a millionaire. Um, everybody would have everything they want. So he said that what one thing that we most people don't realize in manifestation is that you're only going to receive from the universe some whatever matches the vibration that you're at.
Right.
So in order to manifest what we desire, we have to raise our vibration, which is also like work on ourselves.
Right. And it's also like Napoleon Hill from the book Think and Grow Rich talked about like having a burning desire. And if you can believe it and conceive it, then your mind can achieve it. Then you can achieve it. If your mind can believe it and conceive it, then you can achieve it. And it is that like if you can get yourself into a place of like, I can definitely see myself soon as looking my best, feeling my best, jumping up and down and just feeling peaceful and great. And I keep visualizing that with a knowingness. Then pretty soon what happens is you start to consciously, your version of you now and the vision, you start to step into that vision. So you're matching that vibration. So the vibration's high, even if you're not feeling high, in that way you can raise your vibration by your visualizations and your thoughts and your
Yeah.
words, and all of a sudden you keep doing it over and over and you keep tuning into divine and white light. All of a sudden a month goes by and you're like, whoa, I'm at a different level.
Yeah, and I think how to get there, I'm going to read this other quote that I have. It's about being love and light. And that's also like another thing that a lot of people say, but how do you get there? How do you do that? So I think this might help. So it says, in any moment on any given day, I can measure my wellness by this question. Is my attention on loving or is my attention on who isn't loving me?
Mm,
And how what I get from that from like when I apply it to my life, I from day one, the day I was born, I think it was somewhere at some point in time ingrained in me that um love equaled pain. Um, so I was always focused on what I didn't have or focused on someone who's not being nice to me or someone that this person doesn't love me enough. And so I protected myself. So I wasn't being love. I wasn't being love outwardly or inwardly towards myself. I was just like measuring everybody's um communication with me or interaction with me as like, do they love me enough?
mm-hmm.
And I always found reasons why they didn't. And so that just kept me in the lack and it kept me in the not being good enough, not being valuable, all those things. So I'm trying to shift out of that now. And so being the love, what would that look like? Instead, I guess it's loving yourself first, being receptive to love also. What do you think?
Right. And what just came in for me is checking yourself before you, because I sometimes habitually, I think with having OCD with thoughts, I habitually will go into wanting confirmation or validation from certain people, like from my husband or from my kids, or, and it's just kind of an OCD thing. Like it almost is like a compulsion of like, I need to hear that right now. And so what I do is I try to stop and go, wait, where is this coming from? Do I really need that? Can I refrain from that? I love myself, like really just give it to myself. And that way it's being extra self-aware and
Yeah.
stopping yourself before you do a same habitual pattern.
Yeah. But now I can start, or I've been doing that a little bit better, being a bit better with that. But I know now I can also look back and see where I went wrong with it. And I'm not going to be hard on myself for it, but it's sad because I was closed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that because I was looking for the worst in people or expecting the worst. I was
Mm-hmm.
expecting people to hurt me. So instead, I would do it first.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Talk Purpose and Truth podcast. Find out more at talkpurposeandtruth.com. And follow us at Talk Purpose Truth on Instagram and Facebook.